not only do we breathe with our lungs, but we also breathe with our intestines. And they've seen this in other mammals and whatnot. But this only occurs when the body is in a hypoxic state, so a low oxygen state. So these are the reasons we do these breath holds. The other interesting phenomena is that when a tumor, cancerous tumor is found, it's often found nearer the intestines, and it's in a solid form in a hypoxic state. So when we have a chronic hypoxic state, much like when we have a chronic stress state, and we can't shift that, then the body gets sick and dysfunctional. And so these practices we're doing today help free up those. We're going to be causing a hypoxic state on purpose to activate the intestines to breathe, to release potential and prevent cancers and tumors in the body, as well as open up our lungs to help with respiratory and immune system. This affects blood sugar levels, diabetes, all these things. And it seems to be a lost art that we can breathe with our lungs a little bit, but we can't breathe with our bellies, which is why we're getting these big bellies, because we don't know how to pump or contract these. And then we never go with a air hunger. Sometimes we do fasting or we do water fast, but we never experience an air hunger in our day-to-day practices. So we never activate the intestinal breathing. This happens sometimes at night, people, and that's how COPD and those things happen, and people get an obstruction in their breath pathway, or they get that neurological part. And so the intestines happens to be more that physiological, neurological component, which rarely gets accessed. So to do this, we're going to sit down, and I'm going to mute. And so for this practice, I want us to focus just on the point below the belly and imagine air coming in and out of that. And for the most part, we're going to breathe in and out of our nose, but our teeth are going to touch lightly, and our tongue will maintain on the top of the roof of the mouth. And this will help balance the head posture. So our tongue connects to our gut via fascial connections, and then it touches the upper palate, which gives us our sense of balance. And sometimes you can, if you're comfortable as we get into it, you could close your eyes and you will get more of the sensations and adjusting the balance in gravity as well. So many things are going to happen at the same time, but the setup is going to remain the same. So we're just going to sit nicely with the spine straight, nice and open. We're going to smile, and then we're going to smile into our organs, allow good energy to come on in, and we're going to have the tongue on the roof of the mouth, teeth slightly touching. And so, like I said, everything is just going to be in and out the nose. So we're going to start with a first warm up, and we're going to have a hand on each elbow, and we're just going to breathe in. And out. And we're going to switch your arms, and then again. And you might feel like a stretch in your back, or like you're arching, or like a pull on the inside. Just notice that and draw your awareness to that and how that connects from the tongue down into the intestines to where your belly button is. Nice and slow, feel that stretch. Drawing breath, kind of like a yawn on the inhale, feel it hit the back of the throat, and then exhale out the nose. Nice and calm. We're going to do this a few times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Remembering to smile, the teeth are lightly touching. You might start to get a sensation at the back of the throat now, a dryness, or you might start to generate saliva as we're pumping the abdomen. As you inhale, the belly expands. And as you exhale, the belly button goes in. All right, now we're going to combine this to the next exercise. So this time we're going to inhale. Then we're going to let go of the hands. They're going to cross and come down. This opens up more of the sides of the ribs. You can activate the gallbladder and liver meridians. You'll start to feel buzzing or tingling on the sides. As I do this, I notice I'm getting a lot of shaking in the side of my neck as this part opens up, just doing the slow inhale, feeling a suction coming down to the belly. Now we're going to go into a different direction. So we're going to go into a flexion extension. We're going to do some spinal cord breathing. So the hands can stay palms face towards you, and then you inhale, elbows come back, and palms face outward. You can lift the chin or tuck it in and straighten up, your choice. And then you exhale and round. And so here the pelvis rocks back because we're creating a C-spine. So you just tilt that back and tuck the chin. And elbows come together if you can. And then inhale. And we just go back and forth. Nice and slow. Round the back. Tuck the tailbone under. Inhale. Now the pelvis tips forward on the inhale. Ribs open. Elbows come back. Feel the stretch here and the pressure between the shoulder blades at the back and the palms go out. You can lift the chin or tuck it back in and back. Feeling your breath rhythm like waves of an ocean. You might go a little faster than I go. You might go a little slower. You might go a little fuller, more to your end ranges. You might go a little shallower. Just feel into it. It's your ocean. Maybe you're having a calm sea, or maybe you're having a storm inside. doing these practices, we can change the internal weather. So if it's feeling very stormy, then you want to go nice and slow. If it's not stormy enough, you could speed it up. In and out the nose, teeth still lightly touching. Noticing that point below the belly button. Your hips might start to move. You might feel your hip flexors and things as they start to loosen up. You might get pops and clicks. Here we're releasing the joints and ligaments as well as the visceral joints. Freeing the kidneys from the liver and the liver from the intestines, allowing them all to move freely and independently. Now we'll bring the hands palms up in front and we'll do a different motion. And so we'll inhale, hands come out. Exhale, hands come together. And here you can again still keep rounding the back, so similar to spinal cord breathing, but the hands are going to stay in this shoulder plane, this horizontal plane. Feel it in your fingers, the palms of your hands. You might get heat or tingling. You might get a pain in the shoulder or a heaviness. Just keep breathing in and out the nose, nice and relaxed. Here we're also pumping the lymphatic system, and so therefore you might start to get saliva in the mouth, or you might get more of a cotton mouth. Just allow this to happen so the body can adjust. You don't have to do anything but the motion. I can now feel a deeper pull into my abdomen, a greater suction as I do this. Things are warming up, getting more belly gurgles. I'm getting more dry in the throat, although I'm getting bouts of saliva as well. And a bit of heat and tingling in my hands. All right, and now just rest the hands in the lap. Still breathing in and out the nose. And just notice how the body feels and what's different. Notice how it's easier to take a breath. Notice how soft everything is feeling. Really feel that motion going up and down the spine. Now we can go into a rocking. We'll just lean from one hip to one other hip, putting your weight all on the one hip and then kind of tilting with your head and leading onto the other hip. Getting this left and right motion, just feeling all the vertebrae in the spine. You can connect first finger and thumb, and you'll feel a little electrical current. Keep breathing in and out of the nose, and you're freeing up more tension along the spinal cord. I'm starting to get pops and clicks in my neck, and this is because at C1, the first lesion that occurs in side bend, and so here we're stretching the transverse processes of C1 in the occiput, so to relieve the tension in the first cervical vertebrae, which can have a profound effect on the entire body. They found that even just a negative thought can actually throw the C1 out of rotation and therefore out of alignment, which affects the whole entire spine and body. And so we're just going to have a positive thought and just do the side bending. Nice and gentle to free that restriction that tends to be so stubborn. It's easy to go out of place, difficult to relax back into place. So nice and gentle here. You can feel how straight or not your spine is. Maybe you have a bit more head forward posture. Maybe you're really back. Just feel into that. Feel the connection between your tailbone and your head. Here I'm now accentuating it a bit more and getting that side stretch. I can feel that bowing. So it's opening up well, because I'm going that way, it's opening up this psoas here and freeing tension around that rib. And then we'll go to the other side and just pause there for a little bit. I'm also getting a pressure up in the occiput, but that's just a result of the bones pushing together, which will release the connective tissue, and it'll be freer when I go the other way. So it hurts a little bit now, feels good later. If you find that it's too much and you get like a headache or ringing in the ears, then just don't pause there as long. We're just smoothing out, like paving a road, so everyone's going to feel different things. Some have more potholes in their road than others. Some have their roads made out of sand. Doesn't matter. Just work with what you got. Like we're swimming in the ocean. And just sort of pausing to look at different things. Maybe you see a starfish or a turtle. But we're still all going as a group. All right, a little faster. Not as big a range. And just feel that. Feel it opening up a little lower. Very nice, slowing it down. And pause. Still breathing. Always that nice, slow breathing in and out the nose. Smile. Now we're going to elevate the shoulders, make them touch the ears, and then drop them. Why do we do this? Well, we're working on nerves 3, 4, and 5. And so in the cervical 3, we just did is the side bending. So that opens the first. And nerves 3, 4, and 5 are the ones that innervate or keep the diaphragm alive. So 3, 4, 5 keep the diaphragm alive. And if you take first finger and thumb, you can see it's the finger third, fourth, and fifth finger. So sometimes this is seen as the sign language of breathing just under the clavicle. And this is where the nerves actually come out. So this is an easy way to remember, and breathing always involves the first 3 ribs. So this is nerve 4 for shrugging the shoulders. 3 was the side bending. By freeing up fascial tension around those nerves, we free up the brain pathway to activate the diaphragm more effectively. This sometimes gets tight if we are driving in our car or we are sitting at a desk. This is also activated in the startle response. A lot of times the neck and shoulders and the head forward posture are because there was a loud sound or a trauma, and so we get guarded in these shoulders. Therefore, this impacts our breathing. So inhale up, and then exhale, like a sigh. Like you're smelling a good flower on the inhale. Makes you smile, and then let it go. This one, if you want, you can exhale out the mouth like you do when you're stressed. You can This is one of those stress tension muscles where if you've just been constantly focused, it just gets all out of whack. A lot of people have these elevated shoulders. And again, that head forward posture, or if you've ever been in a car accident, have whiplash, this could also be affected. Inhale your energy. Exhale stress and tension, anything you don't want. Imagine it going out. So inhale a nice ray of sunshine. Good fresh air. Exhale smoky, gray, cloudy. We were talking about the metal element earlier. Just keep going. I'm just going to talk a little bit. I find it hard to talk and do it at the same time, so maybe one day I'll do it. I'll try. Anyway, we were talking about the metal element. The metal element refers to a Chinese meridian which innervates the lungs as well as the large intestine. The color for that is white, so we can imagine that bright white light going and clearing. But more specifically too, it's about the energy of letting go. So letting go of our breath is a way of symbolically also letting go of stuck emotions. But we don't want to create too much of a vacuum. So we inhale to allow new emotions to come in, and exhale and we create that vacuum. So we're creating space by letting go of old energy for new possibility and energy to enter. So really focus on that purging, letting go energy, and then in that belly, because we want to start that intestinal breathing to really let go on a deep visceral level. And you'll find as you do this, the tone of your voice is going to change. So we're inhaling up, inhaling, expand, and exhaling, going toward the spine and dropping. We're going to combine these two. And you're going to notice that your back is going to start easing up. And so you might want to wiggle your spine in a way because it might start to get uncomfortable. And so let's just do that for a bit. So we can pick a direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, and just kind of rotate. Find the tip of your sacrum, the tip of your coccyx, like a spinning top, and just lean back on all the different angles. Nice and slow, and just feel any restrictions. You want nice, smooth movement. Feel those SI joints, they call it, the sacroiliac joint. So your sacrum and then your hip called the ilium. And you're just freeing up. A lot of times we get entrapped into ligaments and fascias there, get so tight. And there out comes the nerve, the parasympathetic nerve, to relax those areas. So often it gets tight and then we can't relax our butt. And then either we receive a pain in the butt or we become a pain in the butt. I don't know. Anyway. Let's go the other way. Whatever way you were going, just do the opposite. Again, we're just smoothing out the road. So you might feel pain, you might feel pressure, there might be popping and clicking. Don't worry about it. You're going slow, so you're not causing damage. You're freeing up. Remember to keep breathing. Nice strong inhales through the nose. Relaxed out. Maybe add a hum, like a sound of satisfaction, like a M sound. As in yummy. You might also notice any heat. We're going for a melting sensation. In fascia, this is called thixotropy. And we want to go from a stiff, tensile state into a more soul or relaxed state of tension. So more fluey, gooey, instead of stiff and brittle. That's why the saliva is important. And so breathing in your nose creates that more parasympathetic response and keeps the body more hydrated. And then you're sending that hydration to where it needs to go. All right, let's come back. Back to neutral. Feel how that's changed. Notice your spine. Feel nice and straight. Nice and open in the chest. Neck is nice and open. You might start to feel a buzz or a tingle at the top of the head. Everything is more open. There's at the top of the head is where the sagittal sinus is. And so we can just start tapping up top there. And this is a sinus means like a lymphatic cavity. And so it's an airspace that tends to get stuck. And so this helps drain the sinuses and the lymphatic system in the head, which also helps release old mental tension patterns and frees our jaw because we're freeing the parietal bones and the temporal muscles. So they connect to the jaw, connect to this bone. And so sometimes it gets really stuck here. It's also a point in the microcosmic orbit. It's the tip of it's a nice pressure point. As you start tapping, it might get a little tender or sore. Just breathe into it. We're going to breathe away soreness. Come back to the back of the skull, tapping on the occipital bone. This is around where the vagus nerve attaches around this bone through the sternocleidomastoid, a piece of connective tissue from the mastoid process of the occipital bone down to the clavicle. So we're freeing up the bone from the fascial adhesions, allowing proper blood and nerve and lymphatic flow. All the things. And then we'll come down and tap just under the clavicle, the collarbone. Oh, and then we get back to, so we're talking about nerve 3, we talked about nerve 4, and then nerve 5 is the elbows, how they can go like this. I always think that you can dance. Anyway, so with the hands here, just connect to the lungs and the heart. Feel a finger kind of on each rib or in between each rib, you might notice. And then we're going to rotate one elbow in a circle and then the other in a circle. And this is going to help stimulate cranial nerve 5. Also C5 in the neck, so that's just at the base here. So this helps open up the base of the skull, which tends to be, we don't have voluntary control over it. Usually in the upper parts of the throat, we can kind of control that, like we can swallow. But as we get lower down here, close just below the thyroid, between the thymus and the thyroid, we have very little conscious control naturally. And so by doing this, we're creating a stronger neural connection to that area of the body, which controls much of our immune system. Some would also argue that this not only stimulates cranial nerve 5, but also opens up the thoracic inlet. People get thoracic inlet or thoracic outlet syndrome, and that means they get a nerve impingement on the clavicle, the collarbone, and so we're seeking to remedy that as well. Here you might notice that without any effort, just keeping your lips closed, the tongue on the roof of the mouth, the teeth lightly touching, that your breathing just sort of does itself. Areas you could feel the air going in all by itself and leaving all by itself. You don't actually have to breathe anymore. Let's go the other way. Feeling the tension. Your fingers are feeling all the ribs and the connective tissue at slide and glide. You might get pressures in the hand. You might feel tensions other places. Just really notice. Feel into it. All right, come back to the center and relax. Feel really stuck more here, so because of that, I'm going to keep following my intuition. You just get to come along with me. And we're going to open more of that again. So we're going to go, actually, fingertips out. So before we had the palms up here, the palms are going to face. And you'll notice that accesses a different spot. I can feel this down in my hip as I open up, as well as a spot in here and up here because of how the arm line works and attaches to the ribs via fascia. And here at the same time, you might notice a chi ball. So you might feel tingling sensation in the palms. So just imagine you're pressing that energy here, and here you're allowing it to expand. Like some sort of energetic heart that you're manually pumping. Remember that sunshine. Inhale, golden sunshine. Exhale, gray smoky clouds. When we're purging or letting go, we can do that out the mouth. You can let the arms hang a little lower. We'll fan more down into the belly. Inhale. Expand. Exhale. Feel the buzz, the warmth. Letting go of the old, in with the new. This is the lower dantian we're working on now. Back to QiGong. And so this is where the fire of metabolism goes. This helps heat and power the legs. So here you might start to notice more of a sensation in the feet. Getting more heat or tingles. Just in the nose, out the mouth. Slowing it down now. Belly expands. And exhale. Fingertips touch the belly, and then inhale. And exhale. Really feeling the organs. They go through a motility, which is separate from our respiratory, our natural conscious breathing, and more of an unconscious breath pattern. Sort of like the tide of the ocean. And so start to notice the tide. In cranial sacral, they call it the mid-tide. And so it's much, much slower than our respiratory breathing. So we're going to forget about breathing and just try to feel that electromagnetic sensation which connects us to the mid-tide. And this helps promote cerebral spinal fluid flow throughout the spine, which hydrates all the bones and discs. With this, the fascia becomes very warm and buzzy. And you might get into a state of dreaminess. You might notice also as you slow down that your movements aren't as smooth. So we're going to use a system now called SQUAR. And the first one is S, and so that stands for symmetry. Just notice the symmetry or asymmetry between your right and left side. Feel how your left hand feels different to your right hand. Or are they the same? And notice, is your right wrist the same as your left wrist? And notice your elbows. Now notice your shoulders. Now notice the base of your neck. Does your right collarbone feel different to your left collarbone? Or can you not feel them at all? That's okay too. Now we're going to just rub the fingers together. like you're sifting through sand or something. And then we're going to take the fingernails and we're just going to rub them vigorously like we're trying to start a fire. Do this for a few minutes, and we're going to inhale very strongly through the nose and out through the mouth like we're trying to fan a flame. And slow it down. Hold your hands apart. Feel the energy between them. You can pulse them back a bit and forth, back and forth. And now we're going to turn the wheel. So we're going to start at our belly. We're going to push down towards this coccyx. Pull the hands back towards the sacrum, up the sacral bone. Feel all the vertebrae in the spine, going up vertebrae by vertebrae. Coming to the neck, up to where basically your eyes are, and then coming forward to your eyes, and then coming down the throat. Feel the tongue, your connection from the roof of the mouth to the tongue. You're coming down the tongue, into the throat, down into the chest, feeling the ribs, down to the diaphragm, your respiratory diaphragm, feeling it come down to the navel, and pushing down towards the coccyx, hip coming back, just circulating all the way up the spine again. You might feel pulled to some spots. If you want to pause there, or you might notice different sensations. Just go nice and slow and observe the different segments of the spine. As you come up to the eyes, go forward and down the front of the body. Going up the back, down the front. And as you observe this, observing your spine in great detail, it'll start to shift on its own. As you come up, you might notice your pelvis kind of wants to rock or tip forward. And as you drop down, you might notice it kind of rocks or tips back. All the bones in the mid-tide go between flexion and extension, tipping forward and tipping back. As you come down to the front, Allow your hands, when they come around the navel, just to rest in your lap. Notice how your lungs are breathing. Notice how there's movement in the belly. Now we'll just go to centering. So take whatever hand is on top, because if your hands are on top of each other, take the top hand. We'll come sweep around the side. And then when the thumb comes to the midline, we'll drop down the midline, centering the body. Coming down. This hand will lay on top, and now actually the bottom hand will slide out and come around. Scooping up. Coming to the center and down the midline. Pinky facing away from you, thumb facing toward you. And rest on top. Bottom hand slide out. Come around. Down the midline. Resting on that hand. Slide out. Gathering all our energy. Centering it in the lower dantian. Down the midline. Centering our energy and storing it for use later in the day. And now just rest here. Take a big breath. Open your eyes if you'd closed them. Wiggle your fingers and toes.